How are you doing? Welcome to week 4 of the Make Your Bed Challenge. So thrilled to have you back. I hope you're excited. Firstly, how did you get on last week? It was a bit of a full-on session, I know. So much stuff in there on habits and gratitude and joy, and how 40 to 50% of our time is subconsciously done, and those are the habits that we need to ensure are getting us on the track to being our best self. So how did you find it? How have you found doing your gratitude every single day? And how did you find writing your joy list? I think sometimes when we first sit down to do anything like that, it's such a change from the mindset that we've been in. So we really have to shift hit myself. We really have to shift gear, and we really have to focus on the small things that are in our lives that bring us joy, and that we're grateful for. And once we can start doing that, we start building that habit, and it just can transform our lives. So I hope you have at least managed to start that habit building. And as I said last time, I'll say it again, no doubt I'll say it many, many times, is that what happens if you fall off the bandwagon? You get back up. It is the getting up that matters the most. So don't watch this and think, I haven't done it. I haven't done any of the challenges she set, or I haven't managed to do more than a day of making my bed or writing my gratitude. And don't beat yourself up about it. Don't. Forgive yourself. What's done is done. And just know that you have now, or you have tomorrow. You have another day on the other side of sleep when you can try again. Just get back up on that bandwagon. And when we build in these habits, we are getting up back onto the bandwagon faster and faster and faster. The time that we fall off gets smaller and smaller and smaller until one day we don't fall off anymore, because it's a habit that is so ingrained in our soul that it can't fall away. Okay, so if you haven't managed it, don't beat yourself up, go and try again. But now we are going to dive into lesson 4, which I'm really excited about because it's on fear and failure. Before we dive in, make sure you have a pen and paper, take notes. It is the best way to learn, and remember, you're 5 times more likely to retain information or beliefs if you write them down. So go get that, and then we'll get in. To start off with, I thought it would be actually useful for you and also for me, when I was doing some research into this topic, of what are the definitions of fear and of failure. So I'm going to be reading these from the screen. So fear, what is fear? So there's the noun and the verb. So fear as a noun is an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain, or harm. And the example they give here is that I cowered in fear as bullets whizzed past me. The verb of fear is to be afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or harmful. What I think is interesting there is the definition is about kind of almost physical, but very few things in our life involve physical pain. So it's this mental fear that we create, that we latch onto, that we allow the negative thoughts of fear, like from other people's opinions, bring into that fear, right? Because we're not living as cavemen. We're not going to be fearful of the tiger coming through the door to attack me. I'm not scared of the tiger. I am scared, or my fear is of what other people think of me. Or if somebody laughs at me, that might be a fear. But I'm not scared of a tiger hurting me. So those definitions are interesting, but times, in my view, we're changing slightly. So I get it, they explain it, but we now need to look at that fear that we're experiencing kind of today in the world today. Okay, so what about failure? What is the definition of failure? And it's literally the lack of success. I was like, are you joking? When I read that, almost speechless. It makes me so angry. I'm like, failure, in my view, is not a thing. You can't fail. You can fail, let me get that right, but you only fail if you don't learn anything from the thing that you failed in. So, in my view, you try something, okay, and you either win, you smash it, or you don't, and you learn. So instead of thinking about it as either succeeding and failing, think about it as winning or learning. And when you win or you learn, there's no failure, right? The failure just here is not an option because I've won or I've learned. And learning, and they're going here, that definition of failure is the lack of success, but learning is a success in its own right. Winning is a success. So therefore, there is no failure. You just have to reframe the definition. So instead of thinking that failure is not succeeding, and when you try something you either win or you fail, change it. Change that parameter, change that belief, change that definition. You either win or you learn, and when you win or you learn, you take failure out of it. So for me, failure is not a thing. Obviously, if you choose not to learn from that thing, then you have failed. You chose not to learn that, didn't you? Because remember, we always have a choice. So when we fail, we can choose whether we look at that as a failure on ourselves or as a learning. As a learning as to what would I do differently? How would I approach that differently? What would I do? What questions would I ask? What effort would I change? Rather than just going, we failed. You have that choice. So now we've got our heads round fear and failure. I like to look at them as fear and failure and fear of failure. I think that's kind of two different things. So you can either be scared of failing, but as we've literally reframed it there, you shouldn't ever have that fear. So for me, it's fear and failure as well. So as individual things, they're individual entities, they are individual, they have powers over us as individuals differently. So I think it's important to break them down as well and not just look at fear of failure, okay? I'm going to interject this bit with a bit of a narrative and a story. So 3 years ago, I bought myself a dog. Her name is Dodo and she is a brown working Cocker Spaniel. And right now she's sitting on the windowsill there, looking out of the window. She is my most loyal companion. She likes to think she's human and she literally goes everywhere with me. Now I'm sure many of you have a dog at home and so you'll be more than familiar with the whole aspect of getting up and walking the dog and marching around vast expanses of greenery bit that comes when you have a dog. And it's obviously no different for me. Dodo requires a lot of exercise. But as I mentioned, she comes everywhere with me. So when I go to London for work, or when I go anywhere, she comes with me. And I have to figure out how I'm going to get her exercise in around my meetings and where she's going to be, blah, blah, blah. But when we go to London, we have exhausted loads of different kind of places and we try runs here and parks there and stuff. And we have our kind of set routine of the ones that we know work really well for us. And one of those is Gunnersbury Park, which is in Acton Town, so West London. I often stay in West London at my sister's, and so I can leave her there and it's fine. And we go to the park and Dodo can get a really good run. What I love about Gunnersbury Park is that there are acres and acres of unkept grassland. There are very few tarmac paths. You can literally walk all over. You can go through shrubland, you can go through a meadow, you can go down by the wall, which is like across the road, or the fence. You can go up to the top where it's more like landscape gardens. Like, it's super cool. There's a pond, my gosh, old bits and pieces. There's an old lake you can walk around. It's amazing. And so we can go around and we can get loads of fresh air and exercise and running. And I was there a while ago, and as I was walking along, I noticed that I was walking on, not on a path, but I was walking on this flattened grass that the person before me had trodden down. Probably persons. And what I realised is when you walk on grass, you create a path of its own. So you create that trodden, slightly muddy, like flattened grass vibe, which is like a path. And my instinct was to follow that path. What was I doing? Why was I following that path? There was so much grass around me, so much expanse of space and untrodden grass around me, and yet I was choosing to follow the path of the person before me. When I realised this, I was like, because you always have a choice, I was like, hell no, lady, get off this path. I was like, this is my life. I'm in control, and I'm not just going to walk on this random path that somebody else has created. I'm going to choose my own path. So I stepped off that path. And when I did that, I asked myself, why had I walked on the path? And, what does it take to step off that path that was in Gunnersbury Park? Or is it, as a metaphor, like in life, what does it take to step off that path and walk a different way? And the path that we step onto, the one that we create for ourselves, is likely to be tougher. It's likely to be bumpier. It's likely to be more unpredictable. But, stick with me, it is incredible and eye-opening because you get to see everything differently. So when we walk the same paths as everybody else, we see the same things. And when we see the same things, we experience the same problems, and therefore we see the same solutions. And if you get off that path and you walk a different way, you see things differently. But why don't we default to walking a different way? The chances are it's because we're scared. We're scared of the bumpier. We're scared of the tougher. We're scared of the unpredictable. We're scared and fearful of getting off the path. If you are a person that walks off that path, I salute you. I raise my hands to you, and honestly, you hold on to that strength to walk off that path so hard, because it is something that most of us lack. And if you're not walking off that path though, I want you to ask yourself, why are you not walking off that path? What are you scared of? Who are you too scared to be? What are you scared to dream of and crave and go after? This right here is your life. You are in control of your life. Nobody gets to dictate to you that you have to walk on that path, that you have to walk the path of the person before you. So if you can start to identify what is holding you on that path, then you can empower yourself to step off it. Now, fear. This is fear. Fear is what is holding you there. Fear is crippling. Fear keeps you where you are. It keeps you playing small, and it keeps you here in the present. So we have to learn to embrace fear, to step into fear, to step off the path and just go at it. And if when there's a fight going on, people's reaction is, if someone's going to throw a punch, people's reaction is to step away, okay? So if you do the opposite in that's fear, okay? Pushing you back. And rightly so, it's protecting you at that stage. But what happens if you step into that? You step up into that punch and you go, I'm taking this. That then puts the strength in you and not in the person punching you. Hopefully no one is punching you, so should be fine. We're not in a fight. My point is, when you step into fear, fear can't keep you back because you have the forward momentum to push through.